reconnected and free. Find new paths. This is your podcast space for deep life lessons and raw reflections from an open-end world journey and a soul-led life. Hosted by Maya. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your own path. You know, in this life, it's so easy. It's so easy to just do what everyone before you did and what everyone else expects you to do. But you know in your heart, in your heart's truth that the way that you did before, that you maybe still are walking, the path that people told you to walk, isn't what you're here for, what is needed from you. And this is what we want to talk about today. It's like the main theme of my work and of this podcast, to find and walk your own path. And this maybe sounds easier than it is, but we can make it more easy. We can do that for sure. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about you and your path today. So right to start with is like not only the walking part is like the second part, but the first part is to find your own path. So we have to find out where you are right now. So I'm inviting you to also use this podcast episode to look into yourself and to reflect. Because it's not just me sitting here and talking, but it's us doing the work together. So take your time, maybe listen to the podcast episode several times, maybe take some notes, write down some questions or whatever comes to you. And important is not only the working part, the listening part, but what I've learned in several years now of self-development and personality development and spiritual work is that often it's important to get input, like chosen and conscious input, but the real change happens when there's stillness, when we are left by ourselves, when things can process, when the outside isn't loud anymore, it's silent in the outside, so our inside is loud, so we can hear ourselves again. And then, of course, practicing in life with all the situations occurring. So this is like the first important advice I want to give to you, so that you go into silence with what's there. Because these days, you know for sure, especially the ones of you who are living in a city, who used to live in a city, it's so loud always and everywhere. It's loud with the lifestyle we created. For example, all the traffic, all the sounds we can hear, and our brain is so good and just not letting us really directly recognize how loud it really is. We can get used to noises, but they're still here and they're still distracting us. And the other things that are like the loud outside are not only the sounds, but they are also like the voices of other people and their opinions. And it's about the voices you can hear, for example, how you grew up, from your family, from your surroundings, everyone who influenced you somehow. And I'm not seeing this as a bad thing. It's just to see this objective for a moment, okay? And everyone who influenced you like directly, but this is like the bigger picture we need to look at, that most of the time gets forgotten in the self-development, personality development kind of bubble, I'd say, where I for myself discovered that spirituality is more the key for me, because we're not looking at just what's there now and what was there in our lifetime, but what was there before. And I don't necessarily mean before as our previous lives, if you want to believe in something like that, but like the lives that actually had happened before ours, that influenced ours. And this is like all our ancestors, meaning your parents treated you the way they treated you because of their life, and also about because of the beliefs and everything that has happened to them. So how they grew up, what their parents and their surroundings, for example, taught them, which opinion they got filled with, and their parents and their parents and their parents, so on. So you have all your ancestors behind you, and you're still carrying their topics on top of your own. Like you have a really big backpack with you, and it's up to us now in this generation, ourselves, to look at these things, to look at what's there, what's not only ours directly, but what is behind us, kind of like as if you imagine all your ancestors standing behind you, everyone having like a hand on top of your shoulder, and so on, like a long row. And yeah, we have to look at these topics to really feel free, to really solve some things, because sometimes we work so much on ourselves and it still doesn't feel enough, and this can be one of the reasons why we still feel stuck or don't know how much, however, we are looking back at our childhood and how we grew up and so on, but still there's something we can't explain that is holding us back. And this is like one possibility what is holding us back actually. And for now, to concentrate on something more that we can better imagine, maybe something to touch, let's look at the childhood thing for a moment, because this is like really important what has happened, especially in the first 7 years of our lives, when we were kind of in a state where we just were growing and we just took in everything. And this is it with the picture I gave before with the what we got filled in. You can imagine ourselves, you can imagine yourself as being like an empty glass when you come to this world. You're just here, you're open for whatever is coming, or whoever is coming, like this beautiful being here. Hello, you. And oh, she needs some space. Where was I? So you can imagine yourself being an open glass when you entered this world, and then everyone who influenced you, like for example, your parents or the people who helped you growing up, your teachers, your best friends, your grandparents, whoever had like spent most of the time with you and had most influence on you. And then they all had some kind of opinions about life and what is good for you. So this is something I would see objective or a little positive, because everyone had like the best interests in you most of the time, in most cases, and they all wanted your best and they experienced life, and so they wanted maybe to protect you from things that went wrong in their lives, and they wanted you to have a great life. So they gave you opinions, they gave you a belief system. So they filled like your glass with all their opinions, with everything they thought was good for you. And then at some point, with all the information from other people, from the system, from school and so on, your glass is nearly or completely full, but not with yourself. So this is also where I think this feeling of being disconnected and lost comes from, because we always just had other people giving us something, and not like it was from the outside, but not from ourselves. So we are not connected to our inner truth anymore. And this makes life hard, and this makes life feeling fast exhausted, feeling like something is wrong, and this little feeling underneath that this isn't what we need and we don't know what to change, but our life just doesn't feel right. You know that feeling somehow. Something is not right. And you just can't imagine what. So this is one possibility, one part of you having a filled up glass from all the opinions from somewhere else. What to do? We will come to that later, because this is like more the active part. We are still like more in the finding, in the foundations part. So I think a big challenge, try to call that challenge, but maybe we can also call that a problem these days, I think, is still the system we are in. And I don't know in which country you grew up, how exactly your system was. I can only talk for my country where I grew up and for what I know about the world. And this is that in a young age, some things changed in the past few years and centuries, that we are not growing up tribal anymore and with our families around and other people teaching us things, but with a system we got kind of pushed in, like, a norm that we needed to fit in. And like slowly, because of like the kindergarten school system, we always had to attend there, and they filled us up with information that were named as important. But let me tell you something. I've talked to many people and many young people, and we can all agree on that. Honestly, after school, we were somehow lost, because we didn't know, most of us, who am I and what do I want to do with my life? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm privileged. I'm grateful that I got a lot of information, that I was able to go to school. And some things I can't deny are important that we are learning there. But do you really think it's important to get filled up with only information, only dates, only things we need to learn, and then we write a test and then we forget about the things? But what I didn't learn was having like different situations, maybe also historical events, and seeing what they have in common, to be able to combine things, to know how to survive. How do I live my everyday life? How do I do like the basics? What are finances, and how can I take care of myself? How to, like, all the basics. So we got so filled up with the opinions around ourselves, and also with information, what might be important, what is important, so that we can't even hear ourselves anymore, that we aren't really, I feel like my generation is a generation, and the ones after me, we don't really know how to live by ourselves. We're so dependent on the internet, on other people helping us, because we don't know the basics. And we're so full, our glass is so full, that we don't even have the access to ourselves. As I said, it's a really privileged position, but we have to work on that. If we don't want to feel our whole life lost and living it like we're with the feeling that we are living it for someone else, not ourselves. How many kids have the jobs their parents wanted them to have, and they're like, try to be happy with that, but they're like at least a bit happy when they try? I mean, there are also like exceptions, like people that are truly happy with the path that got chosen for them, and this is so nice. And honestly, I admired that for a long time in my life. I was just like, oh, why can't it be simple for me? Why can't I just be content with what I have and just take an average job, and if I like it or not, I can make the best out of it? And yes, it's an important skill to make the best out of situations, to stay positive. But it's not about small talking your whole life, about saying everything is okay when you clearly feel that it's not okay, because this is where your stress comes from. This is where your disrespect on yourself comes from, where your stuckness, where your heaviness. I think many people feel exhausted because they are living the lives of others. And this was like a huge part of my life too. That I always did what I thought people wanted me to do, and to prove other people that I'm worthy. I'm worthy of their attention, their love, and their time. Because I am saying what they want me to. And this people pleasing led me nowhere. And I also tried out the opposite, to do the opposite of what people want me to do. Believe me, that also didn't go well, because I just did that to do the opposite. So, what's the way then? The way doesn't exist. It's a really individual thing. It's a way, it's about finding your own path, your path. And your path can be different from everyone else's path, and this is totally fine. So first, we can really accept that, because it's fine. Wherever your life is leading you, wherever you are right now, it's fine. So, yeah, with this podcast episode, and my content in general, I'm here for you. I'm here for you to accompany you in taking your own path, because it can be challenging to find it and to walk it. So there are like many people like you in this world, somewhere outside, and they are trying the same as you, finding your path in yourself and walking it. So this is the community I'm building right now, so we can all support each other with every advice we can give, every experience we can share, and sometimes just with holding each other through the challenging times. And also, it's important to have surroundings and people surrounding you with the same direction walking, with similar values, with not accepting what is for the best, but really learning to listen to your heart again. So to find your own path, to find yourself, we could say that like that. To find your own path is to find yourself. And finding yourself, to take away that illusion, because I think in the personality development bubble, that there's like this illusion of we can find ourselves just buy this course, just go to this workshop, just buy this book, and just consume and do this and this and that, or with this and this and these people, then you find yourself. And I got trapped in that one too. I wanted other people at seminars and workshops and whatever I spent money on to tell me what is my purpose here on this earth and who am I. But as I said, to take you the illusion, no one can truly tell you who you are and what you're here for. And the process, and it is a process, of finding your path and yourself is never finished. There's no certain point you can reach in life and you're just done. Because life is always about changes, about transitioning, and about growing. So maybe you will achieve this and that goal, but in the end, that's not when you're finished. You'll find something else you want to work on, with yourself or as a project for other people. So it's just about, I think it's about finding balance and being happy, I heard once being happy but not being content. So having a peaceful state of being, but always achieving more, but not to fill a lack, because this is what often happens in our society, that we want to fill a lack, but to be happy now and achieve more, not to achieve it, but for others, but for get going, for being human, for simply being human, because humans are like that they want to grow, that they want to go on, that after being on top of one mountain, they want to go on the next and the next and next. So finding yourself is a process where it's nice to have good company, where we will get into this natural process of building something up, then achieving it or not achieving it, which means failure and learning, and then getting into something else to learn, to experience. And it's just on and on and on. So to find yourself, I think one important advice is that I would also give my younger self to try out new things. Again and again, just try out and experiment, because when you don't do new things, you can't know what is really yours and what you like. And you for sure, with some things, will be surprised, because you thought, I can't do this because I got always told I cannot do, because I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm in the wrong country, whatsoever. But as privileged people that I think we are, who are able to work on ourselves, to consume content like this, we do have many possibilities and many things we can do and we are better in that we expect. It's not about, as we're used in the society, to down talk each other and ourselves, but I think it's time for up talk, so that we support each other, that we are honestly helping each other, supporting and speaking good to each other, and also talking up with ourselves, not in a voice of criticism, but in a voice of self-compassion. So if you find out things are not for you, it's fine. Try out something else. If you're having a challenging time, don't beat yourself down. This will make everything worse. Try to be as self-compassionate as possible with yourself, which is a way too, yeah. I admit that, but it's honestly not today's topic, but there are ways we can get more self-compassion with ourselves, which, as I said, is a process too. So to try a lot of new things out, but with that also comes another important point, which is to step out of your comfort zone from time to time. I know it's nice and cozy there, and we would like to stay there forever and enjoy our life there, because we know everything there, we know it's safe, it's nice, it's cozy. But what if I said to you that you could be way more happier, live life way more intense in a positive kind of way out of that comfort zone? And it's not about pushing yourself out there at any cost and being far out there and being really afraid and just pushing you and pushing and pushing you. I'm convinced that push isn't something really needed. Like maybe a little one from yourself or sometimes from the outside, but it'll come naturally if your motivation is high enough, if that's congruent with your values. So it's about stepping a bit out of your comfort zone, spending time there, and then you can also come back to your comfort zone. But you know what happens when you're out of your comfort zone? You grow. Means your comfort zone is also expanding. So you can do way more, you feel better with yourself from time to time. And this is just amazing. Because we want to choose a life not stuck in anxiety, but in love. Because there are like only these two possibilities we have to choose from. And every other emotion, everything else come out of these two. And this is anxiety and love. And we are pushed to anxiety at a really high level in this society these days. Anxiety happens when there are things we are not allowed to, that aren't necessary, when we always just get confronted with the negative. For example, have you seen only negative news? Maybe one positive at a time, maybe some sports, but like what is happening in the world, they want to tell us it's all negative. When we are afraid, maybe an earthquake can happen here too. Maybe war will come. Maybe this will affect me too, and not just at the other side of the world. And then, you get anxious. You shrink down with your body. You feel heavy. You feel maybe stiffy, and you breathe faster because you're anxious. Anxiety can also come from the lifestyle, from loud noises, from being disconnected to nature, so living unnaturally, living somewhere where we can ground anymore, where we're just pushed even more into survival mode. And another big thing that we need to mention in these days is social media. Social media is influencing us so much, we often don't even recognize and realize. It's so easy, to just have your phone and to scroll and to have these different platforms and different people telling you things. But this is also filling your glass up. It's making you full of other people's life and opinions, and it's not the truth. We all choose what we want to put on social media. This is not exactly our life. This is not our ups and downs. This is not every single moment. This is most of the time, for many people, just the highlights. So we're pushing ourselves down because we are always on the screen, which isn't good for our brain, which isn't natural. And we are like always just comparing ourselves, and we're pushing ourselves down because we don't have a life like that. We don't look like that. We don't. And that's when we forget ourselves, because we look so much outside. So I feel like it's time to talk about what we can do also for ourselves, to get back to ourselves, because when we get back to ourselves, it's easier to find our path and then, of course, to walk it. For getting back to ourselves, we were talking about comfort zone and doing new things. And it's also about going in silence, we said. And silence is like the key word for that, to stop from the outside world, but to look inwards. Because everything we had from outside filled up our glass, and now what? Where can we feel ourselves truly? It's not us. This is not us. So we have to take this glass with all the opinions, with everything from the outside, and work on ourselves, meaning pouring a bit of water out, creating space. Because without creating space, there's no possibility the right things can find us, can stay with us. Because we can't even realize them. We are too busy focused on what is already there. And we're not creating our story and a new story, but we are just living in the past and again creating our future out of the past, experiencing the same things. Maybe they look a bit different, but you can see they're the same. The same. And you don't want that. You truly want to be happy. You finally want to do your own thing, going your path. So it's a bit creating space with taking time for yourself. And I know it can be challenging to be all by yourself because we're used to this distraction, but it's so totally worth it. It can start so simple. You can just start with a few minutes or moments and then extend them. So spend time with yourself, all by yourself. Just to be in silence. Meditating is great for that because then we can hear our own voices and what's up. We can listen. You know, it's not exactly meditating when we're just listening, because meditating for me is also a state of being. But we can finally just realize what's really there. You know, when we talked about everything being so loud and we can't hear our own voice, our heart's voice, when we just be inwards and be in silence, suddenly there's a voice telling us things. What we think about, what is just right now there in our lives, what we are concerned about. And this can be heavy all at once. But these are in the end just thoughts and feelings. Some are more worth listening to and some others are less. You have to remember you're the ocean, not the wave. And all thoughts and feelings are just waves. It's just what's there on the surface, but it's not your actual self. It's something created also with the influence from outside. Of course, also really helpful is journaling. Maybe when in your meditation things came up that you now know, or when you just were silent, that are there right now for you, you can write them down. And maybe sometimes I think it's helpful also to create a mind map to sort kind of your thoughts. And when you write them down, they get a platform. So you take them out of your head and put them on this piece of paper. And then your brain doesn't have to work with them all the time again and again. And it's like pictures coming to my mind for every Harry Potter fan, as I am, to be honest. You remember Dumbledore? And when he had all these things in his head, and when he held his wand on his temple, and then it soaked out this memory, this scene, this thought. And then he held the wand into this kind of bowl, and then it was there, and he had access to that bowl later, so you could get again involved into that memory, into that thought, and take it out of that, and like react with that, work with that, or he could just leave it there, but then he has like capacity for something else. So this is part of the creating space thing here, that we put something inside of us out, so we can see that, we can work with that, and we also have space for something else to come to us, to find us. Yeah. I think that's what is needed right now. I think there are many ways to find your own path. It's about creating space. It's about looking inwards. It's about trying out new things, getting out of your comfort zone, and also to having a mindset shift, which is a process too. A mindset shift of that you are worthy of finding your own path, of being good to yourself, and of letting find you what's there for you. It's not about holding on to it. I need to find myself now. I need to find what's mine for the rest of my life. It's about that we are creating the space and the person who will attract and magnetize what needs to find them, as a personality, as a as a purpose here, but also like the little things in your everyday life, or the people, your friends, your partner. Let them find you. Sounds more passive than it is, because as I said, it's a lot of work too. But when I shifted, for me, it's not work, it's like a life workshop. So it's fun. It's fun to do all of this, and it's so rewarding, and every little step we have to, we for sure can, we kind of have to celebrate ourselves for getting that far, for doing this, honoring ourselves, taking time off and making breaks, to let things sink in and to recover, because we need to work on our energy. Otherwise, we are not able to get going, to be open for really what really needs us and for who needs us. So this is important. It's not, you're finding your path. It's not about you just being egoistic and doing your own things at any cost, like this. But it's about you solving and releasing the trauma, the belief systems of your ancestors, so that they are free, that you're free, that your upcoming generations are free. And it's not necessarily only the generations out of yourself. This is not necessarily needed, but the generations in general on this earth, that we, as being older than people that are just kids that are coming into this world right now and will come, it's us, the older ones, who are influencing them too in some kind of way. So let's make this a positive impact. Also with your friends and your surroundings, everyone else you're meeting, even if it's just for a moment, looking each other in the eyes and smiling, this makes a big change. And also increasing the Earth's and this world's frequency. So with every step you're taking, you're not just taking it for yourself. And this is important to keep in mind. So much for the part of finding yourself. There's for sure more to tell you, but as I said, this is like main theme in my content. So there will be some more. There will, on somehow, some way, will find you even more ways. The second part we want to talk about after the finding your own way is walking it. And this sometimes can even feel more difficult, I think, than the first one, because at first you're maybe motivated, like, okay, I find my own way now and I'm getting there, and maybe then at some point you have some drive. But for example, when I went to seminars, and know that from many people, when we go to seminars and workshops that we participate in, when we are there, we are so motivated and we want to do this, and we have so many tools now and we have high energy, and then we get back into our everyday life. And then suddenly there are like other people again that are pushing us down, not necessarily pushing us down consciously, but unconsciously, maybe with their energy or with words not chosen with awareness. So we're back in the same place with another energy, and this is like a phenomenon that our energy, it's not so easy to get up, to hold up our energy and to get other people up, because sometimes after seminar or workshop we want to take people with us because we learned so much and we felt so good, and we also want to have them. But it's easier than that to push other people down. So maybe people are like, I don't know, it doesn't sound so good, just do your work, can't you just be happy with what you have? It's more than enough, isn't it? So you're getting pushed down, and then you're in your low energy again, or maybe just because you're doing so much, you think you have to do so much in your everyday life, and then it's forgotten what has happened, what you've learned. And this is happening again and again. And I think really fast, even faster in our everyday life. Maybe you have a little push, maybe now we're listening to this podcast episode, you're so motivated, and then a few minutes later, just scrolling through social media because that's a habit, and then your energy is down again. And you won't change something. So we have to create a motivation, a value-based, real motivation that keeps us going. That's also why it's important to first find out your path and who you are. And you don't have to be finished with the first part to start the second one, because walking is also about finding out and a lot about adjusting, learning, growing, facing challenges, failing, adjusting. But when you fail, you know what? It's not bad, because you just found so many ways then how it's not working. So you're nearer, way nearer to what might be working. Yeah, you're getting there, you see? So it's important to not let yourself be pushed down when, again, something hasn't worked out. When, again, you put so much work into it just to get torn down. So it's about being grateful for things going wrong, for mistakes, for honoring them. You can, of course, feel your sadness, your frustration. Every feeling is there to be felt. So there's a moment about that too. And then we can see, okay, before we get too much into the energy, into the, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm angry, why can't that work? To get back into your energy, to set a cut, which is sometimes needed with breathing, with doing something completely different, with maybe just listening to your favorite music or going outside, grounding, and you'll get better in finding exactly that point where you need to do your switch. And then you have like a more energy again, and you can be like asking you the right questions. The right questions are there for improvement and for the real change to happen, to keep going your path. So something has happened, something didn't work out. Okay, you felt it, you took distance from it, and then you're asking yourself the right questions. Like, what does this want to tell me? How can I make this work? Is this exactly what is needed from me to do? Did I do this with the intention of my purest heart, of what is needed for my path, for myself, and also for others? Yeah, there are many questions we can ask ourselves that are more helpful, like, why did this happen to me? You know, why did this happen to me? Such a victim mode, but we want to be creators. We want to create our own happy life. And for creating, we can also, of course, have tools like manifestation in the process of finding out what we want. Okay, this is where I want to get, because this is the way I want to feel, because this is helpful for us, for me and others. Like true motivation to the goal, not just to be seen, not to feel loved. It just needs to be a higher reason inside of yourself that comes from a space of love and not of lack. And this is like the other thing. We talked about anxiety as a big motivation, or love. Love is when you know you're in abundance, when there's this feeling, because there is always enough love for every single being. We just have to be open for that and let it be there. So love makes everything easier, while also walking your path, while finding it with self-compassion, with finding other people that are like-minded, with magnetizing, and also about walking your path in love, in your own timing. It's not about everyone else comparing with others, or people who told you at that age you have to achieve this, this, and that, and you have to do this and that and be that kind of person. No, it's about who you want to be and what feels right for you. Your life isn't finished. And it looks finished when people say at that age, this happening. Like for many people, it's like this whole structure of, okay, you leave school, let's say at 18, then you go to university finish at 22, then starting your job, getting married at 30, first kid at 32, I don't know, so on, and then you retire at 65. Just to name some ages, some numbers. Can be different for you in your country and system, whatever, but it's like a way that is already finished because someone else decided for you to live it. You need to live this way, this needs to happen then, and then nothing can happen that isn't predicted. Of course things will happen and we will get frustrated because we were like, okay, this is the way it needs to be. Why isn't it working? I'm such a failure. It's my problem. I'm the bad. But you're not. You're not the problem. The problem is that this is not your life. Your life is not about living a finished life that someone else told you to live. It's about creating your own. Finding, creating, walking. And for walking your own path, yes, there are people who have opinions still on you and your life, what it needs to look like. And there are reasons for that. Most people just want good for you and they want you to have a better life than they had. And they think they know what a better life looks like and what it needs to look like for you too. So they are telling you, okay, this is needed from you, do this, do that. This is safe, that should work better than my way, or my way worked like that, so you need to do the same. Like there are different kind of opinions and motivations. But when your heart truly tells you something else, then go for it. Don't be afraid to hurt other people because you're not doing what they are telling you to do. Don't be afraid to be lonely sometimes. Be grateful when you're lonely because then you turned away from what is not meant to be, from who is not doing in this part of life or in this category of your creating lifestyle. Maybe this person shouldn't have influence on that anymore. Because maybe you want to be rich, but poor people from your family are giving you advice on how to have enough money. So do you think this is really a good advice from someone who hasn't achieved that, who hasn't been there, who hasn't lived through it? No. So it's important for you to be alone sometimes, to better be alone than be with people who are pushing you down. Being alone, using as a big opportunity to be able to listen to yourself, as we talked about in the beginning, in the silence, getting to know yourself with doing new activities, for example, alone, and also to then create the space for the real people. Because when you still keep everyone in your life who's not good for you, who's not supporting you the fullest, who has always been there and isn't good for you, then you don't have space for the real people. And the real people, the real people are the ones that are going their own path too, that is supporting you no matter what, that they love you unconditionally and not just if you do a certain thing for them or in your life. The people who already walked the path that you want to walk. And it's not about everyone like role models of yourself and people you take advice from that have experienced everything and that they are completely done with all of their processes, even where you want to seek advice from, they don't need to be finished. But it's important to listen to people who are like one step at least further on their similar way. At least one step, so they can give you a little advice, a little something, so you can go to next level by yourself. You know? And they are reaching out a hand and giving you advice, giving you support, and pushing you up, so you have another level. You know? But this is also important for you. Yes, it's important that you find your way, that you walk your way. But you, when you're stepping into that growth, also go up level by level by level, these kind of steps. And there are some people who are just starting, who are at step number 1, whatever that might be, that step. So you can reach out your hand. This doesn't mean to sacrifice your whole life and to just be there for other people, but sometimes it's just about telling your story to someone else, giving a little advice, showing yourself, being present with other people, having a good time. Sounds simple, huh? It is. Thank you for being here. This podcast accompanies you through big changes, life's questions, and the beauty of finding your own way. If you what touched your heart today, I'd love to read that in the comments. If you want daily insights and travel life and direct learnings, then make sure to follow me on Instagram. The links are, as always, in the show notes. Keep walking your path. Much love, yours Maya.